So today we're going to talk about the usage and introduction about the English grammar item, passive voice. Today we're only going to go through present tense passive voice, which is normally easier than the other forms of passive voice. So we take a look in this file, this Word file. The passive voice is very important English grammar item that should be understood. While this is very often used, the passive voice is often used between English learners, so we need to learn this grammar item is very vital. The passive voice is usually used in three conditions. First, the writer doesn't want to mention the doer of the action in a sentence. Secondly, the writer doesn't know the doer of the action. Thirdly, the object is the crucial part of the sentence. When we talk about passive voice, we use the doer, we change the doer into the object. And we put the object in front of the sentence and make it the highlight of the sentence or the spotlight. Before we learn the passive voice, we should review the active voice. The active voice is utterly common. I think all of you know what is the active voice. The fundamental structure of an active voice is, the active voice. Sorry. The active voice is subject plus verb with tense and object. So like this, let me give a few samples of active voice sentences like James bought a packet of potato chips. Well, these are examples of active voice. And let's take a look at number one example. James here is the subject. The subject is actually the doer or the agent, as we all say. James is the doer. What did he do? He bought. Bought here is a verb with tense. The tense is past tense, as we all can see. A packet of potato chips is the object. So subject, verb, and object. And the next two examples are the same. The children, which is the subject, have thrown is the verb with present perfect or past participle tense in here. A party is the object. For 3 hours is a time period. For usually when we see for in a period of time means a period of time, and hence we should use present perfect tense like that. Third example, my parents often go hiking on Saturdays. My parents are the subject. Often is the frequency here. Go hiking. Go is the verb with present tense because this is a habit on Saturdays. This is a habit, is a cycle, so we use present tense. So a little bit of review of the tense and review of the active voice here. So this we already learned the active voice very long ago. It's very basic, but today we're going to go through the passive voice. Passive voice, as I said earlier, the passive voice uses the object in an active voice sentence and place it in the very start of the sentence. So it makes it the crucial part of the sentence. Okay. On the other hand, in the passive voice, we put the object in the start of sentence and turn it into the subject, what I just said earlier in this video. The fundamental structure for the passive voice is subject, which is the original object, plus be with tense, plus verb with past participle tense, plus by doer. This is optional. By doer is optional because this is the original doer or the original subject of the sentence who or agent who does the action. But this is optional because when we use passive voice, when we go over here, the writer doesn't want to mention the doer of the action of sentence. The writer doesn't know the doer of the action. Though sometimes we don't know the doer of the action. If we don't know the doer of the action, we don't need to add by the doer, okay, because we don't know it. So this is the fundamental structure. It sounds a little bit complicated and complex, but we will break it down later. We're going to go through present tense passive voice in this lesson. There are a few examples below. Okay, these are the examples of passive voice. Pay attention in here. Okay, so for the fundamental structure, I say subject, original object, traditional food. This is the original object, which is placed at the very first of the passive voice sentence here is becomes the subject. Traditional food is eaten. Is be with tense here. Be with tense. Be with tense actually change into is because traditional food is uncountable, and then we use is. It's all actually also present tense. So we use is. When we consider what do we change the be into with tense? We need to think of two things. First, we need to think of what tense is it. In this sentence, traditional food is eaten during Chinese New Year. During Chinese New Year, this is a cycle. We do it every year. So we need to use present tense. So it's either is, are, or am. But in this situation, traditional food is uncountable. Hence, we use is. So is a form of be with tense. So we need to consider these two things before writing the new form of be. Okay. Eaten is a verb with past participle. So eat, past participle, eaten. This maybe after this lesson, if some of you are not familiar with the past participle tense, go check it out. In Google, there is actually a lot of verb tables and a lot of past participles. But I think a lot of you are familiar with this tense, so I'm going to go on. So eaten is a verb with past participle tense. It's originally eat, but we change it into eaten because there's a passive voice. Passive voice means change the verb into past participle tense. And plus by doer, I already said it, this is optional. This, we don't have by doer because we don't know the doer. We're not clear of the doer, or we don't want to say the doer. So there is no doer or object in this passive voice sentence during Chinese New Year. Houses are decorated during Christmas. So decorate, the original form is decorate, but we need to change it into past participle tense, so decorated. Houses is plural, and during Christmas also it's present tense. So plural and present tense forms are, okay? Present tense is are, am. Houses, we only have houses. This is plural. There's countable and plural, so we use are. Homework is done by the students every day. Done is the past participle form of do, and is because homework is uncountable, and every day means it's present tense because it's a cycle, so it's is. We use is. By the students are the doer. The students are the people who do the homework. Is the doer, okay? So we usually use present tense passive voice for activities that happen in cycles, habits, and festive activities. Let me point out festive activities because this is often used. I would like to point out that festive activities are often, when you see passive voice in a English grammar exam paper, we usually talk about festive activities. So here. I'm going to explain the procedure to turn an active voice sentence into a passive voice, which is the key of today's lesson. So yeah, active voice sentence. We have this active voice sentence here. The children sing wonderful songs in Christmas. So when we first said the active voice sentence structure is subject plus verb with tense, and plus object. So you can see here, active voice sentence. The children, which is the subject, sing, which is the verb with present tense, wonderful songs, which is the object, in Christmas, which is the rest of the sentence. So let's see the procedure here. Firstly, we need to put the object at the very first of the sentence. I have said this a million times. Put the object at the very first of the sentence. Some of you don't know what is the object. The object is what in the active voice, the object is the word chunk that appears after the action, like sing. Sing is the action or verb. So after sing, there's wonderful songs. This is the object. Okay, this is the object. So we put this at the front of the sentence, at the very first of the passive voice sentence. This is the very first procedure to changing it into passive voice. Wonderful songs, and the second procedure. Then we'll deal with the be with tense. So as we can see, the active voice sentence used present tense. Here in Christmas, let's not write. Let's not point out in Christmas. Let's see sing. Sing, we can see here is a present tense of sing, which is present tense. It is a present tense form, so we used present tense in this sentence. So the active voice sentence used present tense. For present tense, we can only change be into is, are, am. This is the fundamental and basics of changing be into something else. I will not cover this subject because I think you all know this. The subject is wonderful songs. The subject is wonderful songs. It's plural. When we see plural, we need to change it into are. This is present tense and plural. Wonderful songs. We can see the S in wonderful songs. So we know it's plural. Plural, then we change it into are. So hence we use are in this case. So wonderful songs are something. Then after that, we'll turn the verb sing into a past participle form. So according to this passive voice, we need to change the verb into past participle form. So which is sung. If you're not familiar with this, go check it out. I think a lot of you know this. Sing, sang, sung. Sung is the past participle form of sing. So yeah, wonderful songs are sung. Next, we can see the doers in the active sentence above. The doers are the children. So we add by before children to emphasize that they are the doers. So by the children. The children are the doers. The children are those who sing the song, the wonderful song. So there's the doer, the agent. Wonderful songs are sung by the children. Of course, this is optional, but if the active voice question gave you, if the active voice gave you the doer, you better write that down, because if we change, usually when the question tells you to change active voice into passive voice, you need to write down every single bit of information back into the passive voice. So this is the rule of changing sentences. So yeah, by the children, something. And fifth, we can add the rest of sentence at the end. Done. Wonderful songs are sung by children in Christmas. In Christmas is the rest of the sentence. It's not a subject, it's not a verb, it's not an object, so we put it at the end of the sentence. Sometimes we put the rest of the sentence before the sentence or in the middle of the sentence, but we'll cover that later or next video. The above is full procedure on how to turn a present tense active voice sentence into a passive one. Though this is only the basics, there are a ton of other forms and other different tenses. So we will forgot to add comma. So we will continue learning more complex structures of passive voice next video. Practice makes perfect. It's time to test your knowledge. So we'll have a little bit of an exercise down here. So yeah. So I have written the answers with, I changed the answers into white. So you can't see it now. I will uncover them later okay. So let's read the rubrics. When I see a lot of people, they do not read the rubrics. That leads them into failure when it comes to English, because the rubric is very important. If the rubric says something that you don't know, your whole part you will get all of your answers wrong in that part. So the rubric is very important. Let's read the rubric here. Turn the active voice sentences into passive voice. You may change the form of the words given. 30 marks, 5 marks for each question. So there are 5 active voice sentences and we need to turn them into passive voice. In exams, these sentences actually, you need The longest time that you need to finish these sentences before the clock rings, each sentence you should only use 30 seconds. 30 seconds or fewer, because you will lose all your time in this part. So we need to check the time in the exams, but this is not the exams. So let's see. First question, in Chinese New Year, people give red packets to one another. So in Chinese New Year, this is a word chunk. It's emphasizing the time, and it's also emphasizing that this is using present tense, because it's also a cycle. A cycle, Chinese New Year happens every year. So a cycle here. So we put in Chinese New Year at the very first of the sentence here, very first of the sentence. Even though I said we put the object at very first sentence, but I didn't say that the word chunks, the rest of the sentence, we need to put them in the first, middle, or last, the last bit of the sentence. So we put in Chinese New Year at the very first sentence. This is actually not a crucial part of sentence, so we can go on at comma. Remember, at comma, people give red packets to one another. This part is the part that we need to deal with. So let's see. So we have the subject here. We have the action or verb here. Red packets is red packets object to one another. Also the rest of the sentence. So we put red packets, which is the object, at the very first. So in Chinese New Year, red packet something something something. Then we use be. Be in here we can see that give is present tense, and red packets is plural. So in red packets is plural and give is present tense. So if we have present tense, I already told you, you can change the be into is, are, and am. But red packets is plural, so we use are. So red packets are something something something, and then we choose the action. The action is give, and we change it into present, past participle, or present perfect tense, whatever you want to call it. Give, gave, given. So red packets are given. So if do we have a doer here? People. When we have people, we don't usually write by people. So we will not write by people. We just leave the doer blank. We will not write by something something. So to one another, we'll add this at the very end of the sentence. So the answer is, let me get this. Okay, in Chinese New Year, red packets are given to one another. Okay, second question. Children paint eggs during Easter. So during Easter, again, emphasizes that this is a present tense. Usually, if you have a word chunk, we'll just leave it there and wait till the end and add it back. So during Easter, we'll just put it at the end of the sentence, because in active voice, we also put it at the end of sentence. We'll not move anything here. We'll move. Okay, children paint eggs. Children is the subject, paint is the verb, eggs are the objects. Children. So like here, eggs, this is the object. So we put it at the very first of the sentence. So eggs, something, something, something. Then we use be. Be, we need to change it into another form. So paint, this is present tense. In present tense, we can only use it in is, are, and we change it into these three. Eggs are plural, so are. Eggs are, we change paint into past participle, so painted. Eggs are painted. Children is the doer. We can add doer with by. So eggs are painted by children during Easter. So the answer is exactly this. Eggs are painted by children during Easter. So number 3, my sister and I use sand to make a sand castle. Sorry, sandcastles don't have a blank in middle. It's one word. Remember that I typed it wrong, typo. So to make sandcastles, this is what do you need sand for? So we'll leave it at the end of the sentence, okay? So we'll see here. My sister and I is the subject, use is the verb, sand is the object. So we put the object at very first sentence. So sand is at the very first sentence, very first of the sentence, and we use be. Be, use here means that it is present tense, present tense. Means that it's present tense. And sand is a little bit sand is uncountable. When we see uncountable, we can only use is. So we use sand is sand is. Remember that sand is uncountable. Remember this, okay? Check if the object is countable or not. If it's uncountable, we use is, or was if it's past tense or other forms, but we're talking about present tense. So sand is something, 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 and we change the action into past participle. Use, used, and used. So sand is used. Here we can we have the subject here, by my sister and I. Used by my sister and I to make sandcastles. So we have two answers here. Sand is used to make sandcastles by my sister and I. Sand is used by my sister and I to make sandcastles. Sorry, sandcastles is one word. Sorry about that. And these two are both correct because we can place the doer plus by anywhere, just at the end of the action with PP, which is present perfect tense. Don't want to point it out. So this both are correct, and let's go on to number 4. So we really need when we're doing these questions, we really need to know and think about how we're going to change the be, because this is the point where every student is very anxious of how can I change the be? What can I change the be to? So we need to think. We need to think about it. Okay, be very careful in these questions because passive voice is very tricky. So number 4, people splash water at one another during water festival. During water festival, we'll leave it at the end. So water is the object we put at the very first. Water. Splash means that is present tense. Water is uncountable. That means we use is. Water is splash. Present perfect means splashed. Water is splashed. People, I told you I will not use people as the doer. Water is splashed at one another during water festival. So this is the answer. Water is splashed at one another during water festival. Remember to add the full stops. Some punctuation mistakes are usually what students make, because it's very careless mistakes, and we will not make these because it's very very small mistake. But if you didn't write the full stop, that will -1 mark. So no. Read science fictions. Science fictions is the object, so we put at the very first. Science fictions. Read, be. Reads, that means is present tense. Science fictions is plural, so science fictions are. Read, past participle. Read. Read doesn't change. Okay, so science fictions are read. We say read. Pat is the subject, so by Pat, by the doer, by Pat, every day. That is the answer. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys have a deeper understanding of passive voice. I will keep talking about passive voice next video because passive voice has a lot of forms and different tenses. It's a very difficult subject grammar item in English. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you next time. Remember to subscribe and turn on that bell, like, and share this video with your friends. So see you next time. Bye.